My husband wants a divorce, but I don't. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My husband wants a divorce, but I don't. To make a long story short, I fucked up big time. I have been with my partner for 6 years. 3 of them married. I never once felt the need to seek out other men, or even cared to even interact with anyone else until this past year. My parents divorced about 2 years ago, and I haven't talked to my father since. He is a very narcissistic and manipulative person, and I am scared that as I am getting older, I am picking up on his habits. I don't want to be like him at all, but recently, this past year, something in me changed. I thought it may have been my birth control and hormones, so I stopped taking it. But it's almost like it got worse. At the beginning of this year, how I confessed to having a crush and a coworker to my husband, but I didn't have any attraction to that person. It was more of an attraction to the attention I was getting that I felt like I elect for my husband. Several months later, I began talking to another guy behind my husband's back. For me, it was just a friendship. I was seeking out advice and attention in all the wrong places. This person, and I never developed a relationship, and I never had any feelings for them, but I got so captivated and a high of sneaking around and talking to this person, that I began lying to my husband even more. Deep down, I wanted to stop. I wanted to cut this friendship off and focus on my marriage, but I couldn't until I was caught, which eventually I was one night when I lied to my husband and went to this person's house. It's like I knew I would get caught eventually and I wanted to, but at the same time, I wasn't ready to change. I like the feeling of freedom. On top of this, I began to hang out with a group of girls who were single, like to party, like to have fun. Not to mention I got married at 17, so it's like I felt like I needed to make up for my youth and see what I was missing out on. So I began to put these friends in front of my marriage and devote my time to them and of my husband, which was another huge mistake that I failed to realize at a time, because I was so caught up in myself and in a high of independence. Then recently, an old acquaintance from high school reached out to one of my girlfriends and asked for my number. I agreed to let him have it, not thinking anything would come from it. I began talking to this person pretty frequently and agreed to meet up for lunch once. Then shortly after I agreed to hang out with him twice. I made it clear to him that I was married and seek nothing more than friendship and advice, but still for some reason, I continued to talk to him knowing my husband wouldn't like it, and that I needed to go home and water my grass instead of devoting my attention elsewhere. Eventually, I was caught again. I invited this person over to my mom's while she was out of town, and I was dog-sitting for her. For the record, I have never once physically cheated on my husband or even considered it. Sammy say I had an emotional affair, but it was never anything more. I love my husband, I really do. He is my best friend, and I wish I knew why it did this to him. It's almost like I was watching over myself and had no control. I went to fix myself, I want exchange. I want to fix my marriage. I have already lost all contact with this other guy. I didn't have contact with any other man. I have distanced myself from my friends and explained to them that I need to focus on my marriage and fix it. My husband hates me, which he is every right to. He wants a divorce, but he don't. I went to win his love back and a person he fell in love with again. I am receiving religious and medical help now. Trying to figure out this problem I have with myself. I don't want to wake up one day and be served with a divorce paper. I don't know how to keep my husband from divorcing me. He deserves it better, and I want to be that better for him. I understand it's going to take time for the trust to even be considered, but I am willing to do whatever it takes.